I want to welcome you back to Retirement is Underrated. My name is Tim, and I want to welcome you back and thank you for watching this video and for watching all the videos on my channel. I really appreciate it, and for subscribing, and hopefully you like and subscribe to this channel after this video. So, I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, and this whole idea of nature abhorring a void or an empty space, and with contrasting that with clutter loves a clean surface, or clutter loves a surface. Have you ever noticed that in your home, surfaces can fill rapidly, and even though our best efforts of cleaning them, we often come back to find them filled up by things again? I looked up on the computer on AI to see what AI had to say about vacuums, and it's interesting to see what it said. It says, nature abhors a vacuum. It's a philosophical and scientific concept, often attributed to Aristotle, that suggests empty spaces, vacuums, are unnatural and will be filled by surrounding water. It implies that nature resists voids and tends to equalize conditions by filling them. In essence, it means that any empty space will be occupied by something else. Metaphorical meaning. The concept extends beyond physics, suggesting that any kind of void or emptiness in life tends to be filled, whether it's time, emotions, social situations. For example, a lack of meaningful activities can be filled by less productive ones, or a lack of positive thoughts can be filled by negativity. Let's see, modern relevance. Tough word. Modern relevance. The concept according to psychological articles is still relevant in understanding how humans and nature respond to empty spaces, both physically and metaphorically, according to a psychological article. Scientific interpretation. In physics, it means that a vacuum is unstable and will be filled by surrounding matter to equalize pressure and density. No matter what we do, clutter, nature hates a void or abhors a void. It fills it in. We think it happens in nature with water rushing in to fill a space, or even things filling up a void. And it's the same thing. The social dynamics, even of having voids surrounding us. We love to fill them up with stuff. Have you ever experienced that you clean up your space only to find it filled with clutter again? Or the more counters you have, the more open surfaces you have, like this table that I have here, or a counter in a kitchen, or even a desk space in your office. By nature, we tend to, if we don't watch, can fill it with clutter. Clutter is anything that fills a space that doesn't necessarily belong there. Clutter are things that fill our lives. Clutter is a constant danger that needs to be guarded against. It can happen so naturally. We come back from work and we toss the keys on the counter. We throw our jacket on a chair. We put our books down after school and we leave them there. We kick off our shoes and throw them on the floor. We get changed in the morning. We throw our clothes on the floor. Or we cook a dinner and we don't clean up the kitchen afterwards. We leave it sit out till the next morning. It creeps in slowly. Clutter is a little here, a little there. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly and it builds up over time. I've noticed this in my life, where I can clean a surface. I can get the kitchen as clean as anything, and I look at it and say, wow, this is awesome. And then I turn around and the next morning and it's filled with dishes. The dish genie has come in overnight and filled it with dirty dishes. How did that happen? Or I used to come back from work and just toss my stuff on the chair, and it would not pick it up right away, and things would accumulate. And it gets a little well, we tend to say, and I used to say a lot, and still do say a lot, oh, I'll get to that later. I'll put it there temporarily, and I'll pick it up later. I'll get to it, or we'll say we'll get to it. It's easy to say we'll get to it, but later never really comes, and we keep on putting it off and putting it off, only to have it never really happen. Clutter is really the best friends with good intentions. We have great intentions, but clutter loves good intentions. Good intentions mean I meant to do it, I wanted to do it, but not right now. And clutter loves that because it accumulates on the surface. We say I meant to do it, or we come back to it later and we say we meant to do it. I meant to do it. I really had great intentions. Or I'll deal with it later. I just can't deal with it right now. Or I'm just too tired. How many of us have said this? But clutter, if we keep on putting it off, or the things that are left around in the house, or things that are left, physical things that we don't pick up after ourselves, it becomes overwhelming after a while, to the point where we don't want to deal with it at all because it's hopeless. Look at all this clutter around. I have a mess, and it's just hopeless. I'll never get over clutter. I'm just a messy person. But clutter is not only the clutter that we have physically around us, but clutter can also occupy our minds. The clutter of things that occupy the things that we have to do, the bills that we have to pay, the things that consume our thoughts can become clutter. And if we don't watch it, we can become buried by our clutter. And really, in a way, encumbered by the things surrounding us, and also the mental clutter that is with us. Some solutions to clutter. I was thinking about this. Well, what's the solution? Yes, we have clutter around us. We have all these things accumulating, Tim, but are you saying, well, it's hopeless? Well, not necessarily. And this is something I'm working on currently, and have been most of my life. But really have a spot for everything. When you come home, instead of throwing that coat on the chair, hang it up in the closet. When you get up in the morning, don't say I'll make my bed later. I listened to a book written by a Navy admiral that talked about make your bed first thing. And it's a little thing, and it's really setting yourself up for success. That little feeling of a clean space, and it's done. And it really does. So when I get up in the morning, I make my bed. Or, do it in small bites. Do a little bit at a time. When we leave things to accumulate over time, when we don't deal with them right away, it becomes overwhelming. Don't save it to be a big project. Do it little bit by little bit, and it really helps. Or maybe it's just a matter of you got too much stuff. Hi, my name's Tim, and I've got too much stuff. I really do. Over the years, things have accumulated with the best of intentions. I'll look in my office, and I've got a bunch of clutter around there. And though I clean it up, sometimes it just overwhelms it again, and I've got clutter. And sometimes you just have to ask yourself, like I said, do I have too much stuff? Do I really need it? Do I find it useful? Do I use it? I've bought in the past all sorts of things that I had good intentions of using, but I never wound up using them at all. Do you get things on impulse that just tend to sit around and clutter? I've got this great telescope, or I've got this great object, and I'm going to use it. I really am. I'm really going to use it this time. And then it just sits there, waiting to be used, but never used. I've sold some stuff on Facebook that I bought with great intentions that have sat there, collected dust, and I wound up selling for a whole lot less than what I paid for it. So watch out for impulse. Or maybe you've had experiences with scarcity, and you just like a lot of stuff around you because maybe you won't be able to get it again. And we'll talk about that in another video, but just even that idea that just in case I need this item around. So, clutter can be overwhelming and important. And if we don't really tackle the clutter in our lives, it can even get to a point where we even start hoarding things, where our clutter gets beyond a point where it's just a few things laying around, where it starts becoming a greater issue, where things pile up. So I just wanted to, I was thinking about this topic today, and I just, and I want to hear your thoughts. Put down in the comments below what your experience with clutter. How do you conquer clutter? I would love to know. I'd love to know, your experiences with clutter. How do you treat it? And I'm not talking about the clutter for those of you who do a business on the side, who sell things maybe on eBay. Those things you pick up with a purpose to sell, but they could still be organized. But those of us who don't have these side businesses that just collect stuff because we collect stuff, there's so many different storage. Well, that's really about hoarding, but you think about all the storage units that we store our stuff, that we don't have room to keep our stuff, with us. So we keep our stuff in a storage unit. So that's an extreme, but it does happen a fair bit. So anyway, that's my thought for today. Hopefully it wasn't scattered, but just had it on my mind, and I was thinking, how can we overcome this habit of clutter in our lives? And especially as we retire, we have the blessing of having some time on our hands now, not empty time, not meaningless time, but perhaps a couple extra moments that those who work full-time jobs, who have kids running around the house, that are overwhelmed with life, have. Where, for me, I'm now at a point where my kids are grown up, they're self-sufficient, they're doing their own thing, and I'm retired at home with plenty of things to do, but I can still pick up after myself. I can still put things where they belong, and to live a clutter-free life. So again, leave your comments below, like and subscribe, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye, and have a great day.
All right, this is test one. Dad already did the test, but it's just me in the chair now.